Unlike Mulan, who only exists in Chinese folktales, Mongolia had a real-life warrior princess. Khutulun, daughter of Kaidu Khan, niece of Kublai Khan, great-great-granddaughter of Genghis Khan, was not here for your fragile masculinity. She made a very simple rule. She would only marry a man who could beat her in a wrestling match. If you won, congrats, you're married. If you lose, you hand over 100 horses and go home humiliated. Or dead in some cases. Now, spoiler alert, no one could. Marco Polo even wrote about her, claiming that by the time she was in her 20s, she'd collected over 10,000 horses from defeated suitors. Though, to be fair, Marco Polo also claimed to have seen unicorns, so grain of salt. Centuries later, her legend even inspired the opera Turandot, although the Europeans swapped out the wrestling matches for riddles, less bruising, more brooding. But Khutulun was more than just a champion wrestler. She was a legitimate battlefield commander, a cavalry warrior. She rode into combat beside her father, Kaidu, against the Yuan dynasty, often charging directly into enemy lines. She protected her father's throne. She broke enemy formations, and she bodied every man who thought he had a chance. Even among the Mongols, a culture that gave women more power than most, Khutulun stood out. Contemporary sources describe her as strong, loyal, and terrifying. She fought like a general, and she thought like one too. And that, ironically, is where the trouble started. Not on the battlefield, there she was unstoppable, but politically. Because Khutulun wasn't just impressive, she was Kaidu's favorite. So much so, he tried to name her as his successor. Unfortunately, 13th century Mongols weren't ready to be ruled by a woman, even one who could break their backs. So despite her skill, loyalty, and military command, she was passed over. Now, as for whether she ever married, that depends who you ask. Some say she fell for a captured assassin, while others say she married a trusted ally of her father. Still others say she never married at all, and died undefeated, surrounded by horses and enemies who could never quite pin her down.